he put a bar. I put a keg, beer thing in a bar in there. And so every Thursday night or whatever, they do fly tying and try new beer. And it's getting more local people involved in fly tying, and then he's getting, more fly tying materials in. And so they're keeping their flies as local as they can, and I think that's one of the coolest things.
That was Wanda Taylor talking about her local fly shop, fly tying, and beer. You know I love a good IPA. This is the Wet Fly Swing Fly Fishing Show.
Welcome to the Wet Fly Swing Fly Fishing Show, where you discover tips, tricks, and tools from the leading names in fly fishing today. We'll help you on your fly fishing journey with classic stories covering steelhead fishing, fly tying, and much more.
Hey, how's it going today? Thanks for stopping by the Fly Fishing Show. Are you getting excited about traveling again sometime soon after we get through this COVID mess? I'm setting up great fly fishing destination trips around the country. And if you head over to wetflyswing.com/travel, you can find out more information on where we're heading next. Wanda Taylor is here today, one of the leaders in women's fly fishing. She shares some tips on dry fly fishing, talks about the Hiwassee River, gets into a little on drift boats and why she loves them, and tells us why she's so fired up for blue water fishing. So let's just jump into it. Without further ado, here is Wanda Taylor. How's it going, Wanda?
It's going great, Dave. How are you this morning?
Great. Yeah, it's great to have you on here. We were trying to schedule. It's always a little tricky on the scheduling sometimes, so I'm glad we were able to get this one in and dig into a little bit of your history. I'm really excited to hear, how you got to where you are, because you're one of the big names in fly fishing these days, and you work with TFO, another company that I love. So we're going to get into all that, but maybe you can just start us off first to talk about how you first got into fly fishing.
Well, I've been fishing since I was 4, and my grandmothers taught me to fish. I had no male role models. I just thought because they fished that all women fished. So I was always out on the water, and I met this fly guy, and he found out that I like to fish, and so he said, you want to go fishing with me? I said, sure. So we get to the river, and he starts flinging this noodly line around, and I said, what are you doing? He says, I'm fly fishing. I says, well, I don't fish that way, but I'm a good fisher person. So eventually, I went over to the wild side and found out I really liked it, and I've been doing it for the last 32 or 3 years. So
nice,
it's stuck.
Nice. So your grandmas, I love that. I love these stories because, I think of my grandma. I had 2 amazing grandmas. One of them, when I was growing up, I pretty much spent the summer, with my grandma, and I kind of attribute some of my personality to her because she was so laid back and really, kind of this amazing person. What were can you talk about did you say your grandparents were the ones that got you into it?
My grandmothers, I had 2 grandmothers up from 2 sides of the family, and they both fished. So when I would stay with one or the other, that was one of the things that they had me to do. I understand at 3 and 4, I was pretty annoying with why can I help you? So to get me away from the kitchen and annoying everyone, they would take me down to the creek and, give me a worm and a pole and say, now, when you catch something, bring it back up and we'll cook it for Papa for lunch. So I thought I was doing this huge help to the family farm. So, it was a big deal for me, and I fell in love with it, and it kept me out of their hair.
That's awesome. Yeah. Where were you at where were you living at this time?
Well, at the same place. I'm still on our 112-year-old family farm in Donville, Georgia. It's in Northwest Georgia.
Oh, wow.
And I have the privilege of still being, we still have the home place on the property, and it's like Dallas. We've got Miss Ellie. Mom has a place here. My sister has a place here. And we're far enough away that we don't see each other, but we can be at each other's home in 5 or 10 minutes if we need to be. So it's a sweet deal.
Wow. That sounds perfect. Yeah, that sounds that we talk about that a little bit here too. The fact that it would be nice to have the in-laws, closer because we've got some young kids.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Because it's so important, I think, for especially young people to have the influence of older people. I mean, I'd sit all day in front of my grandfather and he would tell me stories about when he went to the gold rush in California, and, to get his fortune. And I mean, I was just mesmerized by all that. And he went there and was kind of like a truck driver, but he had a mule team, and he would transport things from one side to the other. And was able to make quite a bit of money. And when he came back, he bought I think it was more like 100 acres here in this community farm from his father, and then married my grandmother, who he had fallen in love with since she was 13. So it's a cool story.
Wow.
The interesting thing is when he came back by train, he was afraid somebody was going to rob him. So he taped all of his wealth, his money, around his body, under his clothing.
No kidding.
And so, yeah. And he was a redheaded, blue-eyed, fair-skinned person. So when he got home, he had all these rashes from all of that and the heat of that,
No way.
But we So we now know where to stash your money if you're going to travel.
What was he carrying? Were these like gold coins, or what was the money? How was he?
He didn't really explain that so much. He just said that he had to tape it for fear of being robbed, and I'm sure that would have happened. If you had a little, or a little piece of luggage you wouldn't let go of.
No,
it kind of happens
wow.
like that. So yeah.
Wow. No,
yeah. So that is important. I hope that you can find time to have the in-laws and your parents maybe come by and just spend more time with them, because I'm learning that now. My passion, because of what my grandmothers did for me, is bringing the youth of America or the world, wherever I get to travel, into the sport of fly fishing. And we're mentoring more young girls, not just women. The focus has been for a while on women. Now the women are passing it on to the girls, and then it's just going like wildfire. And to see these little 10, 11-year-olds, little skinny things do a double haul just brings tears to your eyes.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
You're hitting home to me, because I've talked about this on the podcast before, but I have two daughters. They're 6 and 8 right now, and I'm right in the same. I'm just that they've they're into it a little bit, but they're not fully into it, and I want to just keep them going. So Well, make it fun, make it a game. I mean, I do a lot of children's classes, and they have to have goals. They like to compete with each other. So, we set up, you get a free TFO hat if you get your fly line through the hula hoop, and they're all lined up to do that. And, nice.
And then you find, then I have fake fish. And so if you land your fly on the fish, you get another prize. And before they know it, they've learned great skills. I mean, you can even teach them to double haul really easy, because they don't know that it's hard.
That's right.
Or people make it hard. It's not really hard, but they're just little sponges. So
how would you teach them if they were to the double haul? What would be the easy way to teach them that technique?
Well, I make them understand that, they're physically not as strong as adults. Their muscle mass is not formed. And so I said, I have this way to help you, and we do it instead of one-handed casting, we're going to do two-handed casting. And so get them doing the back stop and the forward stop, and then show them their non-dominant hand, whichever that one is, their line hand. I'm finding I've got more lefties coming up now, which is really cool. So I show them how they can pull the line and make it go without even casting with their non-dominant hand. And they think it's so fun. It may be over-exaggerated for them, but they get the idea of the rhythm of it. And then they're just doing it automatically. It's like teaching children. I don't know if you've ever watched a program where they're teaching little children to swim, like babies, by throwing, they'll blow air into their mouth and then just throw them in the pool, and they come up swimming. And
really?
It becomes a game, to them. So I would have liked more games like that.
Yeah,
it would have been a blast.
No kidding. So how's that work? How's that work with the baby? So they have a small infant and they just throw it in the water?
Yeah, they blow air into its mouth. I think this is a trainer. I've just seen the show a couple of times, and then just threw the baby underwater, and it just started swimming back up toward the top, and it became a game. And the baby's laughing. It's a really amazing technique.
Wow.
I don't swim. I don't swim. I swim like a rock. I do. And I've been thrown out of more YMCAs and swimming lessons than I can even tell you about. And so I would have enjoyed having somebody teach me to do that at a younger age. My sister is like a lifeguard. She saved me. She's 4 years younger than I am. And she saved me from drowning so many times. And even when we were little.
Yeah.
She'd come after me.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. No, I,
Yeah.
I, I I'm bringing back the two things about my grandma. Actually, the same grandma. I always called her my little grandma because she's this tiny little thing. But she taught me to swim back in the day. And
See, I'm
yeah,
saying how valuable that is.
I know.
Yeah.
That is cool.
Yeah. But anyway, some of us just can't keep our feet up. I just, for some reason, and I've talked to, I mean, big guys, even like Bobby Popovic, the famous fly tyer. I don't know if you know Bob.
Yeah.
Bob said he can't do it either. He said he got kicked out of the Marines for it or something because there's just something about it. He kept thinking. So don't feel bad, Wanda. And I said, thanks, Bob. I needed to hear that from somebody else.
Nice.
They make flotation devices for people like he and I.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I'm not a great swimmer either. I can swim well enough just probably to save my life if I had to, but I'm not going to be doing a triathlon or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, I have learned to float. I mean, when all else fails, just relax and float to the top and till somebody comes and gets you.
Exactly. Nice. Cool. Well, let's jump into. I want to talk a little bit about dry flies here. I know you have a very diverse background and all that, but maybe we could just start off talking about your home water. I'm not sure what if there is a home water when you think of dry fly fishing that you've either in the past or currently go to. Is there a spot that comes to mind?
Yeah. It's just about 40 minutes from my home, and I live really on the borderline between Georgia and Tennessee, so I can be in Tennessee in 20 minutes. So my home waters is the Hiwassee River in Reliance, Tennessee, and we have like a 15-mile stretch of trout water, and then it goes into striper water. It's a tailwater stream. So, it's regulated by TVA. When you heat and air conditioning on, we have lots of flows, and when it's not, then they give us a fishing flow during the summer, which is great. They have it off in the morning for wade fishers, and they normally turn it on about 11 o'clock for the kayakers and we drift boat people who don't really care to wade.
Mm-hmm. You do a lot of drift boat, or you float in a drift boat?
Yeah. I love to row. Mainly, I'm just not really. You put me to wading. I'm like an elephant in a china shop. It's not if I go down, it's when I go down. So I love my boat because if I see a rise across the river, instead of trying to have to walk over there, I just give it a couple of paddles and there I am and anchor down. So it just gives me more freedom. It's like an airplane kind of. You just go where you want to go.
Exactly. Yeah, I've been really interested in drift boats lately. What is your drift boat?
I have a Clacker Craft.
Yeah.
I love it. Before that, we had wooden boats. My ex-husband built a wooden boat for us when we first started guiding together. It was just the two of us. And and so they're so light and so maneuverable. And then you go to a fiberglass boat. It's a little bit different. It's not as maneuverable as a wooden boat to me. Yeah. And I love the classics of it too. Yeah. I love wooden boat.
What design did he use to make the boat?
A McKinsey. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm interested.
But
go ahead.
Well, soon after that, though, once we had in the late '80s started, that river that we called that ran over us, that one, with Brad Pitt.
Oh yeah.
Our business just blew up, and immediately we went from 2 people to 8 people, and it was just kind of overwhelmed me. I wasn't really prepared to be full time in the business, but it just kind of sucked me in, and I found out I loved it, and I was teaching, and it just happened really quick. It's like when the Chariots of Fire came out and everyone wanted to start a run marathons.
That's
I don't know if you remember that movie, but worldwide it had this new runners thing going on. So
that's right. That's
right. Yeah.
Another thing.
But anyway, I've had.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say another thing I love doing running, but I'm not that great at it. But no, the river runs through it. So you were basically, and I want to get back to that drift boat thing because I had a note there.
Yeah.
But so basically, this is in the early '90s. So you're fishing and you're not quite full time, and then the river runs through. It comes through, and you realize that you can go all in on fly fishing. Is that how it works out?
Well, it was the demand of running a business. We had people that had to shuttle for us every day. And then there's lunches for everybody that had to be prepared. And then there's someone that had to man the phone to take all the reservations. We, at that time, worked for Orvis and were endorsed by Orvis. So when that catalog came out, my phone just rang off the yang, basically, and it was state by state by state that they would mail them. So one day all the calls would be from Minnesota, and the next day they'd all be from Kansas, and the next day they'd be from Florida. It was really ironic, but so I had to take more time to do it. It's hard to find people that could fill all those slots. And then if, one of the guides was not able to go that day, I would fill in, or, we had instruction coming up. And they weren't that many women, but we had families. So we found that they felt more comfortable having another woman in there so they could ask questions. But it was really the men who asked me the questions, not the women, because, we're not supposed to know all things about sports like you guys. When you're born, for some reason, everybody thinks that because you're a male, you're supposed to know all things about sports.
Yeah.
And women aren't expected to know that. So, we just ask any question, but guys wouldn't. And they wouldn't ask the instructors, the male instructors. They would wait till break, and they would come to me at the water cooler and say, well, what did he mean about that mending the line thing?
Oh, yeah.
And so I quietly explain it to them, and he'd say, yeah, that's what I thought. Thanks.
Nice.
Like, seriously. Yeah. But anyway, the Hiwassee River, back to the Hiwassee River, the dry flies, that's my home river. So I've had many, 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 many hours on it, and I love it. It's my secret garden that I go to.
Oh, perfect. Okay, well, we'll dig into that here in a second. I just want to check on that, Mackenzie. I'm going into I actually already started a little mini series on drift boats. So I'm kind of documenting the history of drift boats in different episodes. And I got some really cool guests coming up. In fact, I talked to the guy who wrote the book on how to build wooden boats, Roger Fletcher.
Wow.
Yeah, Roger Fletcher.
Yeah, you got an authority right there.
Yeah,
that's
so
wonderful.
I just learned about Roger recently, so he's going to be coming on. We're going to dig into it, and then we're going to hopefully have.
So are you thinking about building one?
I probably will eventually. Not right now. I just want to document. I just want to interview all the drift boat owners and founders, just so everybody else kind of knows the history. I also dug into I'm not sure if you've heard of the Grand Canyon dory history, but it's really interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I interviewed the filmmaker of Pete's Martin's Boat, which is a documentary. If you haven't seen it, it's really awesome. It's about 25 minutes long, and it goes into the history of how drift boats started on the Grand Canyon, and there's a conservation background to it and how they protect the Grand Canyon from dams and stuff. But anyways, I'll put a link.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's really cool. I'll put a link out at wetflyswing.com/driftboats.
Okay.
To the series.
Well, how come we built the boat was we'd been out to Yellowstone and drifted some big rivers out west, and there was no drift boats in the South.
No.
Period.
Are there still none?
And if we wanted to buy. Well, there's more, but if you still want to get one, you have to go west or find a company that's closer to you to manufacture that you can go actually pick it up. But we have a lot of people that are building wooden boats here just because it's it's easy, it's not expensive, and they're beautiful and they fish well. So that's kind of what happened.
Cool.
And then but when it happened so fast, we had 2 of our guys build their own boats pretty quickly, but the rest of them bought fiberglass boats, which is great because we had a variety of things.
That's right. Yeah, the fiberglass have their own benefits for sure. But I don't think there's anything like wood. I think wood is the, obviously it's natural. It makes sense.
Sure. Yeah, but the Hiwassee River. All the rocks face upstream. It's hard to maneuver. It's not a pebble stone river. So we had to, in order to save the bottom of the boat, we had to put, I call it Tupperware, but a product like Tupperware on the bottom. And it really made it easier to slide over rocks and, in difficult places. And you knew you weren't going to end up with water coming into your boat.
Yep. That's I'm not sure what they put on that now, but yeah, it's some sort of plastic.
There's so many new products like that, that by the time I name one, that's old hat and they're using something else that's lighter than stronger and just like fly rod, same thing.
Yeah, same deal. Cool. Well, let's jump into the Hiwassee. This is interesting because we haven't talked about this river, and maybe you can just start us off first. And if we're talking about dry fly fishing, how do you get your clients into fish on the dry flies there?
Well, it's pretty easy if you've got fish rising. There's nothing like the action of catching a fish on the top of the water. I mean, I love catching them on streamers and also with nymphs, but just to see that take and them to come up. We have an Isonychia hatch on this river, which is kind of a purple-looking Adam's fly.
Wow.
But yeah, we do. And it's not as prolific as it used to be. Nothing's the same as it used to be.
Yeah. Do you know how to spell that? That's interesting. I don't know that insect. ISONICIA. There's an H in there somewhere. Yeah. Isonychia. Yeah. Okay. And so it's a beautiful big fly. And the emergers is probably, I think, the most deadly in anything on a dry fly. If you've got the emerger pattern, even if it's a caddis, that makes such a huge difference. We were able to meet Mr. Quigley that did the Quigley cripple. Yeah.
And once we started using things like that, when you're having a massive, caddis hatch or dry fly, they'd always take those that look like they're not going to make it. It's just how nature is. Like the wolves attack those small deer that they know that they can get, and fish are the same way. So that's basically the two hatches that we have is caddis and Isonychias. We have stonefly too. We have a lot of stonefly in the evenings. We use stimulators, big stimulators, which is kind of fun, and you can do a tag on it too if you want to do an ant at the bottom or whatever, and you have a chance of catching 2 trout at one time. So whatever it takes. If they don't want candy, give them pizza.
That's right. Yeah, whatever they do. Well, you mentioned the cripples. I just recently talked to Kelly Gallup again, and we, he had the book Cripples and Spinners, right? His book, and he explained that the fact that he wrote a whole book about the cripples and the fact that there are a lot of those, depending, especially in windy areas, right? You get a lot more bugs that are kind of messed up.
Kelly Gallup's amazing. Anything he ties is going to attract a fish. I got to do a television show with him. We did a couple of years of Fly Fish TV. Yeah. And he came to my river, and we did a couple of shows here, and then we traveled up to McMinn County in Tennessee for muskie. So it was a fun time.
That's cool. So you guys are you're in the boat, so you're pretty much rowing, and you've got a client out front and a client out back. Is that how you're doing it?
Yeah. That's the way we did it. Now I don't guide anymore. I do what I call instructional guiding. I mainly teach fly fishing to how to cast and how to present on still water. And then the next day after that, we go to moving water. So I put them in the boat and then show them how to mend the line and, the difference between a dry fly and a stimulator, so what they look like and our woolly bugger. But you can always catch something on a woolly bugger, no matter what color it is. Yep. I've caught everything from bass to trout to pompano to sharks, even on woolly buggers. It's an amazing little fly.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, it sounds like that. Well, so you mentioned teaching versus guide. So you don't guide. What is the difference between the teaching, what you do, and guiding? It sounds like you're on the water, but you're not. It's a little different.
Yeah, I don't do anything for them. They have to tie their own knots. They have to fix their leader. They have to tell me why that cast was not didn't deliver. Why did it? What happened? And so helping them think through what they're doing and where would you put the fly, where are the fish. So it's a whole educational day of especially those who are new to fishing. Now, if you're already a fisher person, it's like icing on the cake, learning where to put it and then how to set the hook. I always find it amazing that when they have set the hook and it's like, now what do I do? They just go all to pieces. The fly line's going everywhere. And, just to have someone talk you through that. The first trout I ever caught, no one had talked me through that. So I put the fly rod between my knees and hand lined the fishing. I didn't know what to do with it, And so being in that place before, I know how important it is to teach people line management. I mean, that's just a key to catching fish. If you don't have good line management, you're not going to catch fish. So it's a day like that, and they can ask anything they want. And then my goal and their goal, we've already agreed on this, is when they walk away, they'll be independent fly fishers.
Mm-hmm. What is line management? So if you're again talking dry flies, you say, are you talking mainly when you have a fish on, or where do you start with line management?
Both. Well, like, how do you mend line if you want to cast a little bit farther upstream? That we talk about a reach cast. What is a reach cast? And we go into casts like that makes our one stroke cast. Another one was just how to pop it back upstream. They didn't know they could do that. They thought they had to do a back cast and a forward cast, and it really is confusing at first, to a lot of anglers. So just making those things simple, and they already understand it, then when they go fishing on their own by themselves, they've got a full education of, I've done this. I know exactly what to do and how to get out of it. But you have to have line control. I teach them that once they have done shooting line and they've used their left hand, if they're a right-handed caster, to control that line by making an O-ring and then giving the line back to their hand so that they can actually be ready to set the hook. And that's the first scenario that I go through to make sure that they know that the left hand now from this moment forward should never turn loose of the line. It's your line guy. And so once they understand that one casts the rod and the other one controls the line, then we have two different things going on. And it's almost overwhelming. Like, this is just too much to take in.
Yep.
I said, no, it'll come second nature when the fish show up, I'm telling you. But if you don't practice this at home in the yard, you're going to miss the strike. And then you're going to be upset with yourself, but you can't catch fish.
That's right. What do you, so, with that strike or when you see a rising fish, if we take it to the I can't even pronounce it, but that hatch.
Isonychia?
Isonychia, yeah. What, and I'll put a link in there, a description of what that is. But, if they see a rising fish, what do they do? What's the first thing to do?
You should be casting to the side of it, or if you see the rising fish, and you can actually, you have these wonderful Smith glasses that have all this wonderful new coating on them that you can see all the way to the bottom of the. All right, so with that, it gives you an idea of where to place the fly. If it's facing upstream or is it going downstream, and then so try not to just hit it on the head, because if you hit it on the head, which a lot of people are really good at, it's and actually I take the fly or hit them on the head with something like that, and I said, how'd that feel? Well, I don't like it. And I said, fish don't either.
No.
They don't like it at all. So that's it. And then get them ready to set the hook. And I try not to have them to do the Orbis tradition on their logo, that straight overhead set. I said, if you would set to the left or to the right, you'll get the corner of the fish's mouth, and you're going to have probably more success than if you just come up with it every time, because sometimes you'll pull it right out. And because their lips are so tender, that you can rip it right out. So
that's a good tip.
Just little points like that. Yeah.
So basically, depending on how they're taking the fly, you either set to the left or right to set it in the side of their mouth.
Yeah. You have greater success. I watch a lot of these comp guys on the river, and they're amazing. They never come up with a rod. I mean, it's low with the left or right, and they are doing it and just so quickly.
That's cool.
And
that's cool. Are you fishing as you're going down in the drift boat? If you were just there, if it's just you and I fishing and floating, would you be casting for that hatch right towards the bank, or where are those bugs?
They're all over.
Yeah.
I mean, we have such a diverse bottom to this river that it has been healthier in the past, but I think some of the hatches are coming back. In the early spring, of course, it's massive, and we have midges in the fall and the winter, and there's always something going on. So I just rode to wherever I see the fish. Well, just like you would with saltwater fishing. Wherever you see the seagulls and the bait ball, go there.
Go there.
And it's kind of the same way on the river. Yeah, whenever you see the action, it's just you have to train yourself to see it. And that's another topic that we talk about. Well, how do you know to go over there? Well, I just saw it. What'd you see? So you have to explain it. I make them stare until they finally see it. I got it.
That's
all right. Of course, sometimes you're not lucky enough to have a rise.
Exactly. Well, if you see a rise, I mean, how do you, in a drift boat, if you're floating down and you see a rise, how do you get on that fish? Because it seems like you'd only have maybe a one cast. Is that the way it works? Or are you?
Yeah, no, you just backstroke. You just backstroke on the oars and just stay in that place, or you just drop the anchor.
I drop the anchor. Okay.
I would just drop the anchor and deal with it, and because you don't ever want to leave rising fish to go find rising fish.
Yeah.
So if they're there, just backstroke upstream, which will really work on a person's gut. Let me tell you.
Oh yeah.
I'm not very big either. I mean, 5'5" and maybe 120. So it's a good workout. I wish I could do it today but we're spilling too much water right now, like you are there where you are.
No, I love drift boat I love getting behind the oars. It's like kind of my favorite thing for sure. I'm
in heaven. I'm just in heaven
know.
anytime I'm in a drift boat.
I'll put a link, just like I noted on that Grand Canyon. Yesterday I was watching videos of the drift boats going through like lava rapids, and some of them were flipping.
Wow.
I mean, that's the amazing thing about those boats is that they
Yeah.
designed them specifically that they can flip and they're not going to sink.
Right.
Which is amazing.
Exactly.
But that's one of my biggest goals. I want to float the Grand Canyon in a drift boat. That's kind of one of my.
That would be exciting.
Yeah. So
really.
But okay, but let's take it back to your home river again, the Hiwassee. So
yeah.
So you're anchored up, and when you anchor up, is there any worry? How close are you getting to those fish? Because you think there might be worry with scaring the fish. Is that not an issue?
Well, they have short memories.
Yeah.
Just like if you hooked one or missed one, within 15 minutes, they forgot what happened. Unless you struck him in the mouth with a hook. Now they remember that, but I have a big river and it's wide, so I could see a half a mile across it and down it.
Wow.
and backwards too. Yeah, so I've got lots of views and so I don't go down fast. I may stay in one area maybe 30 minutes and just kind of see what happens, and then pick up the anchor and go downstream a little further.
Oh, gotcha.
So yeah. So we have 3 5-mile stretches that we can do that. And depending on, where the fish are and what time of year it is. In the spring there, of course, at the third 5 miles, the lower ones, because, the water's just getting warmed up from being so cold over the winter.
Oh, yeah.
And then they move on up to the top by August. They're up at the dam because they're suffocating and they want, some oxygen. So they kind of move around.
That's cool. Yeah.
But we're stocked. Our river is put in take now. We used to have, when we were in TU here, we fought for a thing, a barbless trophy section, and we had it. And then it was voted out by the locals, and now everything's put in take, and they all come out of a hatchery.
Yeah. So there was actually a wild population there for a while.
Well, it was sustainable, and we had bigger fish, because that section, people supposedly all released them. I'm sure there were poachers that didn't, but we tried to, encourage everyone to do that. Now it's pretty much, I don't really see a lot of fish coming out of the river as much as I used to. I mean, I love seeing, we've got this guy in a John boat that's kind of, when he waits till the water's pretty high, and he comes in with a John boat and he has overalls on. And he didn't come out of the orders catalog, but he's a great fisher person, and he lets all of them go. Mm-hmm. And in the past, we'd never see that. It's just education of conservation, and I think people are valuing the resources now more than ever because of this COVID thing. When they shut down the boat ramps, you can't get to the water. We have all this. They shut down the Great Smokies. I mean, are you kidding me?
No kidding.
You could never. Yeah. It's been a difficult thing to experience, but I think we all have learned to value what we've had and treasure it more because of it. Yeah,
for sure. No, this is COVID times has been rough, really rough for some, but hopefully we pull out of it eventually and get back to some more normal stuff. I did want to talk on. We talked about Temple Fork Outfitters because you have a good connection.
Yeah.
And maybe you could talk just as far as the rod. I think you mentioned the a Legacy series. Is there a dry fly? What setup would you use for your river if you're just going for dry flies? And is there a TFO rod that would be good for that? Or
all the TFO rods are good for that.
Yeah.
Except the Blue Water series.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they make, it depends on the caster. How do you make the right presentation? A dead drift is a dead drift, no matter who makes the rod. And if the angler can do that, then it's going to be a successful day. Or, a drag-free drift on a dry fly is just magic. So I don't really think it's so much about the rod or the stick that you use. It's how you use the tool.
Yeah.
But they're all good. The new Legacy is one that they've done to honor Lefty Kreh, and it's super high end. Everything on it has been, the greatest guides, everything on it's just really beautiful. And I got the first one maybe 3 weeks ago. I had a 5 weight and a 6 weight, and the first 2 or 3 casts, it's like, oh my gosh, I have to have now the 8 and the 9 weight if they cast this like this. It is just a beautiful thing to behold, but also to cast. And I'm a really Axiom 2X girl. I've got a super fast personality. I stand in front of the microwave saying, come on, hurry up, let's get this done. So the Axiom slows me down, and it's just such a great tool in the wind. And so that's another thing, what would you take to the river? What is your weather going to be that day?
Yeah.
And what are you going to be throwing? So
is it pretty windy? Is it pretty windy on your river?
Well, it depends on the weather. If you've got a tornado coming through, yeah. And we've had a lot of them this year. I mean, Easter, we almost lost my home. I mean, the thing came right through the farm.
Jeez.
And took some tops out of the tree. Yeah. And 4 miles from the farm here, the whole community was wiped out. I mean, It set down and just cleared it out. Yeah, so there goes April and May, the best fishing ever.
Wow.
And a lot of people, we were helping our neighbors, with clothing and food and helping them, clear up their land. It was just horrific. So, yeah, it's been a windy year here.
That was
more so than
that's an understatement.
Yeah.
What is the tornado? Is that how often do you guys see tornadoes like that come through?
Rarely. I guess the last one we had was maybe 4 years ago, but it bypassed us, and it was kind of an after winds of a hurricane that came in, and it ended up, the winds and turned into tornadoes up in Helen, Georgia, and that area up there, and tore up so many homes in the river and just trees everywhere. So you just never know where those guys are gonna show up.
What?
But fortunately, I'm not on a tornado alley, but some are.
But some are. What's the tornado? Just quickly, the tornado versus hurricane. What is the difference?
Well, one's on the water and one's in the land.
That's it. Yeah. So the tornado is the land. This is just for us Western uneducated Westerners out here. So it's tornado is the land version.
Yeah, and it bounces. It'll pick up and skip 20 miles and then come back down again. It just comes up and down as it wants to. We had a lot of downdrafts from it as well. I traveled the day after the last one we had, and so I had to go into Murphy, North Carolina on business, and there was trees and electrical lines down everywhere, what they call like a downdraft, where it would just come down and blow and then pick up again. You just can't predict them like you can a hurricane now. And the hurricane we can track. They know exactly what's happening, where it's going to go, and where to evacuate. But with a tornado, you have no clue.
Yep. Wow, that's intense. Okay. You mentioned Lefty Kreh. I'm glad you did, because I wanted to touch on that. I know you have a connection to him, and I love hearing the Lefty Kreh stories, because we've had a number of them on here. That they're always, every time I hear one, it inspires me to do something. So can you give us a Lefty Kreh story from your experience?
Sure. Yeah, I met Lefty in the 80s, and he came to a fly shop in Chattanooga, Tennessee, which I had been taking a women's class there. It's called Choo Choo Flying Tackle. And Les Kirk was the owner, and he had asked me to come in and help him, because I passed his first class. I didn't know anything about what I was doing, but he was teaching me through that and wanted me to teach other women. So I helped him with that. I just graduated, and they were having this guy come into town called Lefty Kreh, and he was going to do some demos at the fly shop, and then he was doing a private class with a group of doctors there that had flew him in. So I knew, I wanted to go because all my TU friends were there, but I thought it would be a free dinner out. Well, let's go do this and see this old guy. And I get out there, and it was when girls was wearing all these zippered chic jeans and high heels with them, candies. So I was all dressed up to go to dinner. And there was a group of probably 100 people on the side street, and Lefty starts, doing his thing, and he asked for a volunteer to come and cast with him, and nobody would go. And all of a sudden, from behind me, somebody pushed me out in front, and here I am face to face with Lefty. And he says, "Hello there, I'm Lefty Kreh. Who are you?" And I said, "I'm Wanda Taylor." And he says, "Well, Wanda, I want to cast with you, but I don't want you to help me, okay? We're gonna do some casting. I went, oh, in my head, I'm going, hey, I just graduated from fly fishing school, okay? I don't think I need any help. So the first cast we did, I tried to help him, and he dropped the rod, and he turned to the crowd, and he said, I used to think I could teach any woman I knew that I wasn't married to fly cast, but I'm not sure about Miss Wanda. And so they laughed, and I was so embarrassed, red-faced, I could have crawled in a hole. And so he says, okay, next time, Wanda, do not help me this time. You understand that? I said, yes, sir. So he cast, actually, and it went 70 feet, one stroke.
Wow.
And that's when he got my attention. And so that was our first time to be friends. He went out to dinner with us, and several times over the years, he's come to the Hiwassee and fished with us. And,
oh, cool.
Yeah. And so he's kind of been my mentor, my friend, and my confidant for many, many years, especially through the ins and outs of the fly fishing industry. I've worked for 3 rod companies over my span of 32 years. And some of those times are a little difficult. And I'd write him a letter and like, how do you stay in this industry and encouraged? And he'd pick up the phone and call me. He'd say, Wanda, this is Lefty. I said, yes, sir. He says, can you afford an airplane ticket to come out and see me? And I couldn't at the time, but I said, yes, sir. He said, I got some things I want to teach you. So I flew up there and spent a couple of days with he and Ev. And he took me through so many wonderful things of photography, riding, outdoor riding, and, teaching casting and stuff, that it was just invaluable. It was like he just wanted to calm me down. You're going to live through this. It's going to be fine. And he does that for everybody. It's not just me. I mean, that's the kind of guy he was, and we miss him so immensely.
Yep. No, I know. And it seems like obviously there's only one Lefty, and that's why you hear so many of these amazing stories. And I think the power of it is that he inspires you. Whenever I hear a story, it's like the next day I'll do something that maybe I wouldn't have done, but because I think of Lefty, I'm like, oh man, what would Lefty have done here? And it's like, you know what? He would have stepped out, right? He would have stepped out and did something that was just, and the story I love, I've said this so many times, well, a few times on this show, but the one where he flew out to Flip Pallet when Flip lost his place and gave him a bunch of money and stuff. And all those stories just inspire me to be like, man, we should all be doing that. So it seems like, that's the power, right, of his influence.
Yeah, he teaches all of us to reach out to others. And that's the importance of life to him. It's not so much the fishing and the fly tying and all that genius stuff that he did. It's all about the people. I mean, that's exactly, and we pass it on to others as well. So instead of climbing the ladder up to success, you reach down behind you and pull other people up. That's just what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, exactly. That's so cool. All right. Well, Wanda, I think we're doing well here. We touched on a little bit of, some of the dry fly fishing in your home river. I mean, do you want to talk? I know you've got a little bit of saltwater experience. Do you want to just briefly touch on what you have going there? Talk about that first. Maybe saltwater, what's the difference between saltwater and dry fly fishing? Because it seems like you're maybe going more into are you more passionate about saltwater now?
I'm addicted to bone fishing. And it's so similar to drop fishing because you see the fish, you see where they are. You have to place it, the fly in the right position, and then you just hang on. They go from 0 to 60 miles an hour in a nanosecond, and all I can do is laugh. I mean, it just makes me happy. In fact, when I die, that's where my ashes are going, is on the bonefish flat.
Really?
Oh yeah. But I'm learning more and more. I have another great mentor, Captain Jake Jordan, who's caught probably more marlin than any possible person in the world. And he's given me some great experiences to learn to catch sailfish in Guatemala. And we did 17 sailfish in 2 days and just about wore me completely out. But I learned how to fight big fish. And then he allowed me to progress over to some big blue marlin and scared the bejeebies out of me because they're so huge. And I was able to catch on a 20-pound tippet, 100 pound. The first one I caught was over 100 pounds. The second one was 280. And I was just in awe. I couldn't believe that I saw this fish maybe a mile away from the boat. And, you know, your mates are working with you, your mentor's working with you, the captain's working with you. So it's a group sport. It's not a single, we're all on the same team. And when I saw it, I did the cardinal sin. I saw it as a mile away, and it was leaping and leaping. And I said, whose fish is that? And I held onto the line. Instead of letting it run, I held onto the line just a split second, and pow.
No kidding.
And I got hit on the back of the head. It said, that was your fish.
Wow. Look at that.
So, you know, just like I teach in my boat, there's those small things that you have to know that is the rules. And if you break one of the rules, you lose. And that was one of the rules. Number one, never fight the fish. Yep. You know, you wait till it's tired, and then you work in increments. But I knew not to do that. But I just was in awe of that fish that I held on. So there you go.
What do you like for somebody who's never even knows nothing about catching marlin? I mean, what's the gear? What setup are you using?
Well, we did a Charlton reel, and it's probably, I think, one of the best reels in the world, actually. And it's completely sealed. The disc and everything is completely sealed. Jake has one. It's like we call her Ugly Betty. Ugly Betty he had a friend that bought this reel, and somehow they were in Albie Fest. I don't know if you've been fishing for Albies, but we have a blitz here in the fall in North Carolina in October, and they are on bait balls. And if you just dangle your fly in the water by accident, which this guy did, he was eating a sandwich or something, the Albie took the fly, also took the rod and his new reel. He had a new Sage rod, and he had a Charlton. It just took off, and it was gone forever. Huh. So. Yeah. Wow. So 2 months later, he gets a call from Jack Charlton and said, Jake, there's a guy that called me from Savannah and said that he thinks he has one of our reels, and he picked it up, and it was just eaten up with barnacles. Yeah. And he was a treasure hunter. He was diving as a treasure hunter, and so he steamed and all that stuff off and found the serial numbers on it and called in. And sure enough, it was the guy's reel that had lost it in the Albie Fest. Wow. So Jake met with him, and he said, what would you like? And he said, well, I'd like a new Mako reel that Jack Charlton has built. And he said, well, okay, what about I buy you or give you a new one, and can I have that one? And he said, sure. So that Ugly Betty's what, is on her now, is still catching sailfish and marlin. No kidding. Today. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I mean, you could run over it with a tractor trailer, and they're still going to perform. They're amazing. Mako reels are just one of a kind.
And what sort of what weight rod are you using?
We were using the heavy duty TFO blue water rods that Jake helped design for us. He is our blue water specialist on our national advisory staff, and they're terrific rods. They're designed for fighting. So,
gotcha. So you're not fly casting to those fish?
Yeah, you are.
Oh, you are.
You're throwing half a chicken, a fly that looks like half a chicken.
Roy, so you're actually taking a 6-foot rod and you're making a fly cast out there to them, and then letting it.
Right.
And then maybe just take us there. For somebody again, I know nothing about it, so it's like interesting to hear how, because I'm just picturing myself. Yeah, how does it all work?
Well, a year ago, in February, last year in February, I had the opportunity to go to Kona, Hawaii, with Jake and another couple, and their last names happen to be Taylor as well, and we were going for kind of a world record for Jake. He's got like a Golden Grand Slam thing where you catch so many different marlin, the stripes, the white, the blue, the black, and the one that's in the category that haven't caught yet was a short-billed spearfish. So that would have made it. So we were out there fishing for things like that, and first it was his turn up first, and he caught a big sailfish, and we released it, and it was my turn next. And so we had the fly, and you have the blue water rod, and you have the Mako reel, and the guys, your team, the mates will put out teasers, and the captain says, I see a fish coming in, get ready, Wanda, to cast. And I said, all right, ready. I said, what is it? Is it a marlin? Is it a sailfish? He said, I think it's a sailfish. And he said, go ahead. And I said, well, if it's a spearfish, I'm giving this rod to Jake. And he said, no, go ahead and cast. So you do a back cast, and then they switch the fly. They pull out the teasers, and you put your fly there because the fish is already pretty hot, the red strike. And then when you finally see its mouth is on it, then you strip strike on the fish, and then it starts to run. And the captain says it's on, and everybody, they kill the engine, and so it all happened so fast you can't believe it.
Wow.
And so fortunately, this fish was coming in, pretty. It was. I really didn't know what it was until we got close to the boat, and the captain said, "Oh my gosh, it's a world record. It's a short-bill spearfish." And I went, "No." I tried to give the rod to Jake because that's the one he needed, and he said, "No. If I touch it, you're disqualified. I'm disqualified." So we went ahead and brought the fish in. It was super exciting on a 20-pound tippet. Yeah. But you got so much adrenaline going, you just can't believe it's all happening at one time. And it was a really, really wonderful experience to have.
So you like you're throwing bait out there to attract the fish to get them in?
No, these are artificial lures that they have out there, but they don't have hooks on. They don't have hooks on them. Yeah. So they're teasing them up with that. We're not throwing bait, but
gotcha.
And they just kind of get their attention, to get them to come on in casting distance. So it's exciting sport.
And are they the thing they're teasing them with? Is it so like your fly? You can't tease them because it's not big enough. I'm just trying to get a feel for why.
No.
Yeah.
It's a bait and switch. They pull theirs out. There might be rubber, and then we have a fly in there with a hook on it, of course, and try to attract it to that. And it's always a hot color. It's either pink or something like that. And hopefully, sometimes they turn off. It's like, no, I want that other thing, that rubber thing. They'll just, you can't get them to take. Yeah, you can't get them to take it. But if you've got the right maneuver of the fly and can simulate what was happening, then, and you're quick enough to set the hook, then everything, all the actions come together, and the team goes to work, and the captain goes to work. And
oh, wow. So if I was out there in my boat, if I had one out there out of the ocean, I couldn't just see a sailfish and then take my setup and cast to him with the fly and expect that I'm going to get a fish to come in.
Yeah, no, you can. I've done it in Mexico. We've done it in Mexico. We were in Pangas, but it's mostly like a little pontoon boat kind of thing.
Yeah. And
we were going out at daylight, and I was with the TFO group, and Dan Blanton from the West Coast there was a bunch of us there. And we go out almost in the dark. And as we were going out, we saw sailfish asleep, laying on the surface of the water. And so our Hispanic captain he couldn't speak English at that time because he was so excited. And he just goes, cast. And so we threw out some flies, and one of them woke up, and here we go, bam, the bite, and the fight was on.
No
Huge
kidding.
Sailfish. It was probably 125 pounds. Oh, yeah. And that happens too. I mean, with fishing in Hawaii, especially, when we go like to Costa Rica for blue marlin, we're like 50 miles offshore. Well, when Hawaii, you just go like one block away, and you're in deep blue water because it's, it's just on the tip of an island that the Kona is on. The rest of it's volcanic and, deep water. It's amazing. So you really wouldn't have to go that far. There's guys catching them in kayaks.
Yeah.
In Florida.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's just the luck of the draw where you are, and they happen to be there.
Yep.
But
Gotcha. That's amazing. Yeah. No, I wish we had a little more time to dig into. Maybe down the line we'll get a whole episode on some of this. But I did want to take us back to the dry flies because I want to take us out of here with a little, what I call the 222 top 2 tips, top 2 flies, top 2 resources. And we were talking about fishing your home water. If you think of a couple of dry flies, are there 2 flies that you kind of don't leave home without that you are kind of go-to patterns?
Well, anywhere I fish around the world, if I'm going to fish for trout of some kind, even in the West, I have a parachute Adams.
Yeah.
And I don't care in every color. I mean, last time I fished West a couple of years ago, they were doing that purple haze thing.
Yeah.
That was a parachute Adam purple haze. Whatever it takes, if it's yellow or black or brown or gray or even making it look burgundy like our Isonychia, that's what a lot of the guides will try. And I think the parachute is always a deadly pattern because it lays, down on the surface. And the emergers of any dry fly is just going to be two things I'd always want to have. I like caddises in every color, no matter where I fish for trout, whether they're going to be green on their body or black on their body or brown on their body or blonde on their body. I would have one of each of those. And stimulators.
Oh, and a stimulator. Yeah, exactly. That's the other big one. Is there a caddis?
Yeah, orange, yellow, lime.
Or orange, okay. Or orange, yellow, lime? Or is that either one or all those colors in one?
I've never seen all colors in one, but I think it would be a cool fly.
Yeah.
I think let's do that.
Yeah, let's try that.
Change it up.
Exactly. I always think, whenever I think of caddis, I think of a tied down caddis, right? This is like old school. But there's all the other, I guess there's like a lot of the soft tackles, which I guess can imitate caddis as well. But
there's so many different, synthetic things that we have that we didn't have before. I think with the caddis, I mean, you could step on it on a rock and they'd probably catch more fish than if you put one that was just delicately tied.
Yeah.
It's how you present it, like skittering. I think skittering, to get their attention, especially in early summer, going from spring to early summer, they're kind of getting lazy, and so they won't take it just as it's laying on the water, a drag-free drift. They want it moving, and when they like it because they're used to seeing caddises just hatch and just fly off. So it's just a presentation of it, and you have to kind of play around with that to see what is it today, guys, you want. All right, we're going to give it to you, but you're going to have to help me here.
That's right. Awesome. Well, the skittering, that's kind of one tip. I'll put a note into some more information on skittering. If you had another tip for dry fly, say you got your client out there, you're kind of teaching them, what would you tell them as a tip for dry fly fishing?
Just make sure that the rod is constantly in line with the fly, that you follow the fly with the rod tip. That way you'll be ready to set the hook at any given moment. Just don't let slack line get between you and that fly. Yep,
that's right. That's awesome.
Especially when the current's taking it, and then it's swimming. But I love to fish them, especially on seams and right over waterfalls and stuff. It's just a lot of fun. The key is just getting out there and more time on the water. The more time on the water you have, the more it makes more sense to you what to do. There's no perfect one thing that you can do.
No.
Each day you go out, it's a different ballgame, and that's why we stay interested. If it was the same every day, we'd be bored.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's never the same, and that's why you get excited about going.
Yeah. Totally. So what's the best time to fish that river? Is there a time you really love to hit it?
Well, any place in the world that you go in May is going to be, a wonderful, wonderful fishing experience.
Oh, really?
May is May. Oh, yeah.
Why is that? Why is May such an amazing month?
Well, it's still early. It's still early spring, and the waters are still pretty cool. Even in bone fishing, May. I mean, anytime you go red fishing, May is just a pleasant time to be fishing, and there's always good fishing in May.
That's true. Yeah, that's awesome. Maybe that's the best tip of all. Okay, so May is our main month. What about to take us out of here? So resources. If you're talking dry fly fishing, are there any other like books, magazines, videos, anything that comes to mind that somebody could, if they wanted to dig more into dry fly fishing, either in your home water or just in general?
Well, we're all Google people now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I love Google.
And there's YouTube about the yang. In fact, when I had a casting class, at the end of the day, I'll say, here's the three casts that you learned today, or the 4 casts you've learned today. Go to YouTube. If after you've got home, you've forgotten everything I've told you, and type in the name of it, just like a caddis, and then the varieties of caddises, and just study it. And in the older days when we didn't have all this, I would get the Orvis catalog, and I studied every fly. Then I go into the fly shop and try to find one until I could understand how they all fit into the pattern of fly fishing. Yeah. So the more you know about the flies and what they're supposed to do, or if you not turn into a fly tire, who knows?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. No, that's good. I just searched Reach Cast just to see what pops up. That's the interesting on YouTube, because some of it probably maybe isn't the best, right? You might get something that isn't. But you know what pops up first, like it does always, is Orvis. Pete, right? Pete
They
comes
pay
up.
a lot of money for that.
Yeah.
They're geek guys. Good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Pete does a good job there. So.
Yeah,
Okay.
but there's so many great fly companies now. It's hard to find a bad fly. I get a lot of hits on emails from China and Korea and India, people wanting me to buy their flies. And I'm thinking, you don't even live here and you don't even know what the patterns look like.
No.
And you want me to buy your flies.
No, I know.
Sorry. I don't go to the fly shop and buy from some kid that's trying to make it through college.
Yeah.
It's flies. That's up here all the time, you know. That's where my money's going.
Do you guys find that? What is your local? Do you have a local fly shop nearby?
There's the closest one I have now is called the Hatch, and it's in Chattanooga. To me, it's like 30 minutes away from my home.
Okay.
But you know, Amazon Prime is also. It sounds horrible, but I can call any of the fly shops out west anywhere and have whatever I need in 2 days.
Oh, Prime.
So.
Yeah.
It comes to my house. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I try to shop local when I have the opportunity. When I'm at the river, yes, I spend my money there. But if I need something, but like I'm trying to go red fishing here soon, and I couldn't find leaders, and so I just went through, found some, and they shipped them to me.
Yeah. No, I hear you on the local fly. I remember in our old fly shop when we were going, we kind of prided ourselves on tying up the flies, but it does seem like nowadays most of the fly shops are getting their flies from overseas. I'm not sure if that's the case for everyone, but
well, the Hatch. What's something I like about it? This guy's a really intelligent guy, and his marketing is really good. He put I put a keg, beer thing in a bar in there, and so every Thursday night or whatever they do fly tying, and try a new beer. And
Perfect.
So he's getting more local. Yeah, exactly. And it's getting more local people involved in fly tying. And then he's getting, more fly tying materials in. And so they're keeping their flies as local as they can. And I think that's one of the coolest things. He also worked on helping stock some of the streams around Chattanooga with trout and making them sustainable and, cleaning those streams up. So that's what I think a lot of fly shop owners that go into it don't realize that it's a business, but you've got to be part of the community.
Yeah.
And those who don't want to be part of the community and don't have a personality better than the eggplant, they're going to close. I mean, that's the way it goes.
That's cool.
It's people oriented. Yeah.
I love that. That's my type of fly shop. Beers and fly tying.
Come to Chattanooga. Come to Chattanooga, man. It's a cool place.
I'm coming. Sure. Okay. Hey, and just to take us out here on, we noted women in fly fishing. Obviously, you're probably one of the biggest names out there, kind of in the fly fishing space. What would you tell somebody if you got some guys listening here? Like how could we help? That movement, right? You got the 50-50 movement just to help more women get involved.
Well,
is there anything?
I see nothing but help from all the guys that I know, and especially people like you that have 2 daughters.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I've never had an experience on the river. I know I've talked to other women that have, that they run them off the river or been rude to them, or every time I go, some guy tries to give me some flies that he's tried and they were really good, and or they help me put my drift boat back at the end. I've just never had anything but positive experiences, and I think more guys want their significant other or loved one to join them out there fishing. Let's go around the world.
That's right.
That's my goal. I mean, when we ever get out of this being shut home, you'll never see me again.
Where are you going first? Once you could get out, where's the first place you're going?
Well, I was shut out of Argentina in March, and so I've still got that ticket to go. I've never been to Argentina fishing, so that's one of the places I'm going to go in March. But I'm trying to get into doing some red fishing next weekend after Thanksgiving. I was supposed to go on a mothership, stay on a mothership and fish for some reds. And they had a hurricane. They've had 7 hurricanes in New Orleans this year. It has been unfreaking believable. So they didn't have it tore the marina completely apart. They had no fuel, so we postponed it till hopefully, if there's not any other thing that's going to come in, I'm going to sneak off down there and try some red fishing.
Cool. Cool. And anything else in the next 6 to 12 months that you want to give a shout out you have coming for you or your business or anything else?
Well, everything has kind of been on hold, but
that's true.
God bless TFO. I mean, we're here and shipping and got all of the new models that's out. And I do encourage you guys to try the Legacy. It is something else.
Cool.
And the Axiom 2X is wonderful. They're just two beautiful. One's beautiful stick, and the other is a biting stick that you can't stop. So
I'm gonna get on that for sure. What do you love? TFO. Just quickly here. I mean, what do you love about that company? What is the first thing? You've been with them still for a while, right now.
Yeah, about 17 years. It's a big family.
Yeah.
And we have the top 10 or 12, I think, athletes. I call it fly fishing an athletic sport. Is on our national advisory staff, and they all have a specialty in their own arena. We got Bob Plauser. He has his arena. Ed Jarowski, he has his arena. And we have Jake Jordan has his arena. With Blaine Chocolate, he has his arena. But Pallet is on there, and there's just so many that if I have my go-to guys, all I do is pick up the phone and say, "Hey, I need some information," and it's just like a big family, and we're there for each other, and it's because of Lefty. I mean, that's the way he raised us.
That's
it's
right.
like having your father raise you.
Yeah. No, Rick Pope told the story here. I'll put a link to that episode, but he talked about that when he brought Lefty on, how big of a move that was, because Lefty pretty much brought Bob and everybody else along with them, and you know what I mean, like help build the foundation to help build the company, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, he brought me there too, and shout out to Rick Pope for introducing me to you. This is a really cool thing.
Yeah, no, I know.
Sent you, I'm your girl.
That's what Rick. Well, I think I asked him that. I said, Rick, so who else do I need to be talking to? And he said, you need to talk to Wanda. So I've built this show pretty much organically over the last few years, and it's kind of the fun. It's like my little journey I'm on. So it's been fun, Wanda, talking to you. I appreciate you. So there you go. If you want to find all the show notes with all the links we covered, just go to wetflyswing.com/172. As we approach our 200th episode in the not-too-distant future, I'd love to hear if you have an idea or want to provide some feedback for the celebration episode. If you have an idea for a celebration episode or want to provide some feedback, send me an email at dave@wetflyswing.com or just DM me on social. It'd be great to hear if you have some ideas for how we can really put this together and have an amazing 4 years, basically 4-year celebration. So thanks again for stopping by and check out the show today. I'm looking forward to catching up with you soon. I hope to maybe see you online or on the river.
Thanks for listening to the Wet Fly Swing Fly Fishing Show. For notes and links from this episode, visit wetflyswing.com. And if you found this episode helpful, please subscribe and leave a review on Apple Podcasts or the app of your choice. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.